Hello, Pauper fans. It's Mathonical, and you're joining me for round 1 with Disciple Affinity. Taking a look at our opening hand, it is a perfectly keepable one. We've got a bit of explosiveness with the Etherium Sculptor and the Springleaf Drum, and we have the ability to refill our hand with the Thoughtcast. Atog is part of our combo, so we're pretty happy keeping it. Our turn 1, we can either go Terrarion or Springleaf Drum. Terrarion does give us the guaranteed being able to play the Sculptor and Springleaf Drum on turn 2, but playing the Springleaf Drum first is the greedier play, because we'll still be able to play a land next turn. We'll see how we go. So, let's start off. We're going to start off with the greedy play. If we draw a blue source or a 2-mana artifact, this works pretty well. And it looks like our opponent's playing Delver. Very often people are playing like blue-black Delver these days. And we didn't get rewards, so we're just going to play the Terrarion here, although it ends up working out better, because being able to play double blue allows us to definitely cast all 3 of our spells next turn. Although we would like to draw a land or something, so we can... let's see how we go. There's our land. So we're going to go ahead and get double blue here. And we're going to play one Etherium Sculptor. Go for a second one, but... looks like our opponent's digging for something. We're going to go ahead and play another Etherium Sculptor. If they have Daze, we don't mind that getting dazed. And since they didn't even have a stop on, we're just going to go ahead and play the Myr Enforcer, and of course that sticks as well. So we're off to a pretty great start here. Swamp, we're definitely against blue-black Delver, and they have the Snuff Out. That's perfectly fine. We don't mind losing the Myr Enforcer. We're actually very close to winning here, since now that we've got that online with our land, we technically have enough to try and win, but because they have 2 blue open here, we don't want to go for anything. The simple math that I use to calculate when I'm using Fling mana, right now, since we have Disciple plus Fling, every artifact is 3 damage, so 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, easily lethal. We still have a land in hand, but we do not want to cast Atog into open mana. We'd want to find some opportunity we can stick it. So at this point, we're looking for either our 1 Dispel or a second Atog to try and force one through. We can also try and go for it sometime when they're fully tapped out, but chances are they're going to have some sort of foil, and it's not going to work too well. We're not going to really have a choice here, so we're just going to have to go for it. And there's the foil, so we're going to crack our star and hope for something useful. And it wasn't. So we're losing our Tog here. It wasn't much we can do. We will be able to buy another turn or two, but at this point they'll be able to hold up double blue, and if they've got Counterspell, there isn't much we can do. Brainstorm means it's not likely they've got Counterspell. So if we do manage to find ourselves another Atog, we have winning chances. There's another Gush. Let's see. No. So unfortunately, that's game. Won't be able to stop the Delvers in the air. That's alright. We've got a pretty good sideboard plan for this matchup, so we're going to take a quick look at that. Switch this over. So in this matchup, we have we have 3 Pyroblasts and another Dispel, so we're absolutely bringing all of those in. And the Myr Enforcers are just no good in this matchup. They've got Gurmag Anglers, which is just block it all day. They're going to have Snuff Outs to get rid of it. Our whole game plan here is to build up the combo in hand and to go off. The Pyroblast and Dispels are going to be additional counter sources, so that way we can really guarantee sticking it. And let's see, we also, I think, made one other change, because we did take out the Springleaf Drum. Yes, of course, we bring in the Reaping the Graves. That way we can run out our Atog and various other sources of winning the game, and just bring them all back with Reaping the Graves, just to get our card economy really going. So we're going to go with that game plan. And this opening hand is really, really risky. We're on the play, so only having 1 mana source and a star. Filtering through that star, we have 2 draws to draw a second land. If we do draw it, this hand is pretty good, but it's too risky, so we're going to send that one back. 2 mana sources and a prism, perfect. We're going to keep it. We're going to look on top, and it was just another 2 mana artifact. We're going to send that to the bottom. We do just want to dig towards combo pieces, and taking a turn off just to cast another 2 mana rock, no good. Thoughtcasts are great. We're going to go ahead and cast this and hope it doesn't get annulled or dazed, and thankfully it didn't. Alright, draw our third land, and we now get to start casting Thoughtcast. Pyroblast is one of the pieces that we're going to want in the long term. So now we've got all of our mana sources online. We've got a couple mana rocks that we'll be able to crack later on. Let's see how it goes. A second Tog is fantastic. We're still not going to cast either one of them at this point, because we want to build up towards a critical turn. We're going to get the Etherium Sculptor down with a mana floating to play around Daze, and then use the free mana to play the Terrarion. Our hand is looking great at the moment. Now we just need to find a Fling to try and go for the win. Or a couple Disciples. Either one would be great. Gurmag, alright, the clock is on. We do have to start digging aggressively, so we're going to start cracking our artifacts. Because we've got 3 Atogs at this point, I'm going to go ahead and play one. There is a chance they don't have a Snuff Out, and this will give us the opportunity to block the Gurmag if we need to. Alright, so they're playing various draw cards. There's a Delver, that's a much slower clock. We still have a lot of counters in hand, plus 2 Atogs, so we're in a pretty good spot. We need to make sure that we never fully tap out of Pyroblast and Dispel. This gives us a lot of answers to a lot of things. We can always Pyroblast the Delver at some point if we need to, but right now let's use our life total as a resource. They're getting in with damage, of course. We can start thinking about attacking with both Atogs, but the chances of them having a Snuff Out are quite high. They've been looking at a lot of cards, so there's no need to really go for it at this point. They're going to continue to play down creatures. That's fine by us. At this point, since we have multiple Atogs on the battlefield, they don't usually play that many ways to get rid of a ton of them. So we can continue to play out our Atogs at a nice slow rate, while keeping up our counter spells for anything too dangerous. They're continuing to do damage to their own life total. We don't mind that at all. Alright, let's see what they're doing now. Another Gurmag, that's fine. They're making sure to keep up enough blockers to block all of our Togs if it comes up. And we're unfortunately just drawing lands at this point. So we're going to pass for another turn. We still have a good 4 turns left, so no big rush yet. And we still have the Pyroblast if we absolutely need to. Alright, we found the Fling, so we're going to try and get this last Atog on the field. And now we're going to wait for all our mana available and really hope our opponent taps some of their mana on their turn, because we would like to have the mana advantage if possible. They did not. Alright, so they ended up annulling our Terrarion, so we're going to start going for it here. We did manage to find a Disciple, and if we're lucky, they're going to be afraid of this and counter it. Which they are. Like, they are at 14 life, so they don't have a lot of life to work with, but at this point, we can go ahead and attack with everything. They've got 1 mana available, and even if they have Snuff Out or Foil, we do have a lot of answers and a lot of ways of winning. They know that we have the Pyroblast and the Dispel. They do not know that we have the Fling. So we're going to go through this a step at a time. So at this point, we're just going to sack a bunch of artifacts to our Tog. We're going to get it up to lethal and make them make the first move. We can float all of our mana here at the block step, and even though when we go to pass, it's going to come up with that message saying, are you sure you want to get rid of all your mana? The mana does not actually leave the pool until our opponent also passes. We're going to use that to our advantage, because if they pass, we win the game. If they don't pass, we have all this mana to work with to cast the spells in our hand. Our opponent decides they do not want to lose the game, and they're going to go ahead and cast Hydroblast on our Tog here. We have the choice of either countering it with Pyroblast or flinging at this point and hope that our 2 counter magic will hold up in the long term. In this case, I use Pyroblast. And of course, they don't want to just let this happen, so they're going to try and foil it. I'm going to try and dispel that foil. And then they're going to go for the Snuff Out on our Atog, and we are going to fling and hope they don't have another foil. And it ends up working, so pretty good there. Managed to make it work. I realized as soon as they cast the Snuff Out that the sequencing we did was actually a slight misplay. In response to the Hydroblast targeting the Atog, we should have at that point gone for the Fling, because that would turn off any Snuff Outs in their hand, and then we have 2 counter spells to deal with even double foil at that point. So a slight misplay there, so we can definitely tighten things up. But you guys all get the opportunity to learn from that mistake. And we ended up winning anyways, so good for us. Let's go into game 3. So for the sideboard, we're not going to make any changes. The sideboard plan of taking out the Enforcers and 1 Springleaf Drum is solid, so we're going to stick with that. Our opening hand, and obviously not keepable one, so we're going to send that one back. And this one is quite a bit of air, but we should have enough time to really cast our spells and dig through our deck, so this is a fine hand. On top is Etherium Sculptor. While that would help with some explosiveness, I don't think it's actually going to be that useful here. We don't have a ton of artifacts in hand, so we're going to go ahead and send that to the bottom. Alright, no turn 1 Delver. That is very good. That does mean that we're going to have a bit more time to really get all our artifacts down. Augur of Bolus, and they get a Gitaxium Probe. They don't cast it now. I'm assuming they're going to save it for some further turn, because we're going to be cycling through. It's a much smarter move to save it here unless they're looking for something specific. So here they use it. I'm assuming they're digging for something. Gush into Gitaxium Probe. Oh boy, they're really helping us win the game. Don't mind that. And there's the Delver, so the clock is likely going to be turned on shortly. They're still choosing not to counter any of our spells. We do not mind. And they do reveal a foil to the Delver flipping, so we do have to play around that. We do have our Dispel and Pyroblast, so we have a lot of options here. Continuing to dig, we're going to get the Etherium Sculptor down. Now we get to just play things as much as we want. We're going to hold the Disciple, because if we find a second Disciple plus Atog, that is a way of winning without the Fling. And at the end of the turn, we do have the decision of whether we're going to keep holding up Counter Magic or go for the Cycle. I am going to go for the Cycle. I don't mind if they go to kill our Sculptor at this point. That's no big deal. Here's a Gurmag, so the pressure is going to be on a little bit. We're going to crack the Star first, just to dig as much as possible, then Cycle. We did find a Fling, which is nice. Now we just need to find an Atog, and we do have enough Counter Magic that we can probably stick it. We're just going to go through, cycling through our deck. The Sculptor makes it really easy to do that. And because we have the Fling, we can go ahead and cast the Disciple just to get more blockers on the field. And they decide that is worth foiling, so we don't mind there. They're going to get in. We're going to go ahead and chump block just to keep ourselves at a high enough life total. Here, we do have to be mindful that if they kill our Sculptor, they do have lethal on the battlefield. So there's a chance that we might have to Pyroblast that Delver. So we're going to go ahead and keep cracking through our artifacts, hoping to find that Atog. And here we are. So we're just going to go ahead and cast that. They're going to Hydroblast. We're of course going to Pyroblast, using this one first just in case they have a non-blue spell to use in the future. Of course we're going to tap all our mana and make sure we have all of the right colors. Sack all of our artifacts, or at least enough to be lethal, and use the Fling. Still have a Dispel left over, and we managed to beat the Boogeyman in Blue-Black Delver. Alright. Good start there, and I will see you in match 2.